I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the South River Board of Education regular meeting of Monday, August 21st, 2023. In compliance with the Open Public Meeting Act, Chapter 231, Laws of 1975 of the State of New Jersey, adequate notice of this meeting of the South River Board of Education was provided in the following manner. On August 9th, 2023, the notice was delivered to the office of the South River Borough Clerk and posted at the Board of Education Administration Building. On August 9th, 2023, the notice was faxed, mailed to the following newspapers: Home News Tribune, Sentinel. On August 9th, 2023, the notice was posted at the South River Borough Clerk's office. Mr. Rosa, would you please call the roll?
Yes. Mr. Beza. Here. Mr. Butson.
Here.
Mrs. Bush.
Mrs. Bush has been excused.
Mrs. Byrne.
Here.
Mrs. Lau.
Here.
Mr. Nielsen.
Here.
Mrs. Sadowski.
Here.
Mrs. Young Yao.
Here.
Mrs. Urbanik.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Okay, we have our agenda in front of us. The first item on the agenda are the minutes. Mr. Rosa?
For the minutes, we have the July 24th pre-meeting minutes and the July 27th regular meeting minutes.
Thank you. Board members, what is your pleasure on these minutes?
Move the reading of the minutes.
We have a motion by Mr. Nielsen,
Second.
second by Ms. Lell. Are there any questions, corrections to the minutes? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, the next item on our agenda is the use of facilities. Mr. Rosa.
Yes, we have quite a few. Number 1502, South River High School Class of 2024. Number 1503, the ACT testing. Number 1504, Primary School PTA. Number 1505, Primary School PTA. Number 1506, South River Parks and Recreation Department. Number 1507, Right at School. Number 1508, South River Parks and Recreation Department. Number 1509, South River Parks and Recreation Department. Number 1510, High School Booster Club. And number 1511, FBLA Student Council.
Okay, thank you. Is there a motion on the use of facilities?
Nielsen, use of facilities in accordance with board policies.
Motion by Mr. Nielsen.
Second.
Second by Ms. Young Yao. Are there any questions?
I have not a question, but a statement in regards to number 1502.
Yes, sir.
I attended last year's, and it was a blast. The kids had a great time. All the young kids came out. They actually distributed candy for the kids. So if you're going to bring your kids, make sure you bring a basket and get here early. It was a really good time, and I'm looking forward to it again this year because Halloween's like my favorite holiday. So I'll definitely be here, and I'll be handing out some candy too.
Great, thank you. Anyone else? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to our agenda. Next item is our financial report. Ms. Lell.
Thank you. Be it resolved that the Board of Education hereby certifies that it is in receipt of the financial report, which indicates that no major account has been overexpended and that sufficient funds are available to meet the district's financial obligations for the remainder of the fiscal year. The Finance Committee recommends that the reports of the Board Secretary and the Treasurer of School Monies for June 2023 be approved, and I so move.
Thank you. Motion by Ms. Lell.
Second.
Second by Mr. Nielsen. Are there any questions or comments on the financial report? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. At this time, the meeting is going to be turned over to our Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Zurcher.
Yes, thank you, Mrs. Urbanik. So today, my report includes a bit of information on the opening of our schools. It'll be here before you know it. We encourage you to please make sure you're keeping up with our ERAMs, the district website, and our social media pages, as we are providing a lot of information about the opening of schools. Several of our schools have already had their orientations. We began with our primary school for their pre-K orientation, as well as the other grade levels. We know the middle school is coming up tomorrow, and our freshman is coming up as well. So please make sure that you are reviewing all of that information. There are supply lists and so on right there for you to be prepared for returning to school. We're really excited about this next item on my superintendent's report. We are announcing that the district applied for and is being awarded what's called the 21st Century Grant. This grant will allocate $550,000 per year for the next 5 years. And this grant funding will be used towards student programs, academic support, field trips, enrichment programs in our school, and also extends to our community offerings as well. What's really great about this grant is that a lot of the activities we are able to now fund in this grant are activities and programs that we were able to initiate as a result of the COVID-related funding that we received, but is now coming to a close and expiring. So this grant is a fantastic way to definitely be able to fund some things that are funded in our local budget, but then also continue a lot of the programs and opportunities we've developed for kids with those COVID funds that are expiring. So it was a lot of effort to apply for this grant. I really have to give a lot of credit to our business administrator, Mr. Rosa, as well as our grant writer, Ms. Miazio. It was a joint effort, but it really, we're really excited and so glad that we have this opportunity. This parent portal, we released teacher assignments, classroom assignments, student schedules on parent portal this week. We sent out a district-wide message. I just want to remind the community that when we send out a Connect Ed message, that message does go to our families in their preferred home language. So when we post information in Connect Ed, you might be receiving it in English, which might be your preferred language, but if you've communicated to us that your preferred language is Portuguese, Arabic, Spanish, whatever it might be, you will be receiving that same message in your home language. So we really encourage parents to make sure they're looking at that ERAM and to make sure that they are using that as a great way to be able to receive the latest information in a way that's accessible. So the parent portal is open. I've included the link to the parent portal here in my superintendent's report, but it's also posted on the front with a message on the front page of our district website. So please go in there. There are some forms that parents need to acknowledge before they can get into their teacher assignment schedules and so on. The other item on my agenda tonight is the final report to the public on our district goals from school year 22-23. We had 4 goals this school year, and they were in instruction and learning. So in response to the COVID pandemic, we were assessing our student delays and then providing programs and supports to really enrich our student learning and help our students reacclimate. So that was goal number 1. We had a goal for physical, social, and emotional health, and we talked about supporting our students, our families, our staff as they've also had to reacclimate and transition to full-time in-person learning. In human resources, we had a goal to increase recruitment efforts, sustain a working environment of highly trained staff, and then in safety and security, to continuously evaluate and monitor our procedures, our measures of security, and to allocate funding and resources to enhance and improve our security measures. And so for the past year, and I won't go through all of these, they are listed in my superintendent's report, but I'll highlight a few for tonight. We provided several supplemental programs. These were done during the day, after school, in the summer, as well as enrichment programs, credit recovery, and so on, towards goal number 1. We also expanded our Wilson reading program, which helps our students who are having issues with foundational reading skills. We expanded training in that regard, as well as the implementation and just really the access to the Wilson Learning Program. A lot of students who really struggled and needed that were engaged in that learning this year. In terms of social emotional support, we provided our students with access to more staff. We had increased the number of staff in that regard, and they were district staff as well as contracted staff members, such as our ESS staff. We were very, very committed to our restorative community service program, leading us to our day of service. To recruit and support staff, we continued with our EAP, emotional support program for our staff who are in need of those services. We provided compensation for advanced training such as Wilson, bilingual certification, ESL certification, and we had a lot of teachers who took advantage of that. We partnered with SREA. We negotiated a sidebar agreement this spring. It clarified various rates of pay. We added several stipend opportunities for our teachers to be able to take advantage of those. And of course, the retention bonus that we put in place through that negotiation. In security, we upgraded our cameras, our door systems. We updated policies. We began working on what's required in threat assessment policy as well. We hired a new director of security to begin this school year, and he will be just really acting as a liaison to SRPD, to our contracted security providers, as well as state, so that we can keep up with certainly the latest requirements, but also make sure that the district is doing the best that it can in terms of safety and security. So next month, I'll be presenting our district goals for school year 23-24, and we'll continue the work that we've been doing in these goals that we put in place for 22-23. And the next part of my superintendent's report actually goes to Dr. Trevisano, our Assistant Superintendent of Personnel and Curriculum and Instruction, and he's going to be presenting for us our school district NJ, GPA, and AP assessment data. So I'll turn it over to Joe. Thank you.
Okay, it's on. You'll always have to check to see if this thing's on. Thank you, Dr. Zurcher, members of the board, members of the public. See if this thing works. Step one, it works. Okay. So typically my presentation is done in November when we receive all of our state testing results. They usually compile everything, and per NJDOE and CUSAC regulations, I have to present to the board, to the public, and then post our presentation on the district's performance on all state testing. Since COVID, much of the state testing has been done in incremental administrations, and therefore we receive information throughout the school year. So this report is actually going to be just preliminary, or just the data related to our graduation performance assessment and our AP testing results. I'll be back for round 2 in November with our New Jersey student learning assessments, and then I think I'll be back in the spring for some other testing, but we'll get to that one later on. The New Jersey Graduation Proficiency Assessment, or NJGPA, is a comprehensive assessment given grade 11 students. It is for the purpose of evaluating graduation readiness, if you would, in both language arts and mathematics. It is a requirement to administer to all grade 11 students, regardless of ability classification, with very, very small modifications to that. The examination is fully computer-based, and it is based on the New Jersey Student Learning Standards, again for language arts and mathematics. Language arts component is aligned to the grade 10 standards, which really is grade 9 and 10 standards because it is a comprehensive exam. The mathematics component is aligned to both Algebra 1 and Geometry standards, and I will say from a mathematics perspective, there is a touch on Algebra 2. However, since the range of courses that students in New Jersey take is so varied, it doesn't extend past the really beginning of Algebra 2. It predominantly is Algebra 1 and Geometry. Unlike New Jersey student learning assessments, there's only two categories, graduation ready or not yet graduation ready. What we're used to for New Jersey, for the NJSLA or any one of the other acronyms that we've used over the last 20 years, there's usually 5 categories, from proficient to highly proficient to not proficient. In this case, with GPA, it's purely graduation ready or not graduation ready. So on May 3rd of 2023, the Board of Ed adopted the proficiency level cut scores for the language arts and mathematics component. Now, students who do not meet the minimum required assessment but yet have taken it have options towards graduation. In other words, they give you multiple pathways. You can retake the language arts and the mathematics assessment in the fall, in the summer, potentially even in the spring. The challenge, of course, is that by giving it the following spring, you may or may not receive the results prior to August 1st, which becomes a slight challenge. You can meet a designated cut score from a menu of other assessments, including ACT, PSAT, SAT, or you complete a portfolio appeal, which we would actually do that in the classrooms with varied tasks that have been normed and referenced and we've been using over the course of time. They're all approved by the state DOE.
Well,
So-
you transition. I just want to clarify one thing, because I know you stated that those cut scores were developed by the Board of Education, and I just want to make sure for the public, that's not the South River Board of Education.
Yeah,
that is
I was
the
thinking that too. State Board of Education.
is the one that determined those cut scores.
My
Just for
apologies,
clarity. No, no.
clarification. So yes, it is the New Jersey State Board of Education, not the board sitting in front of us. So our overall summary is now on the slide in front of us. We tested 188 students in language arts, 187 in mathematics. The discrepancy in the number could be related to a number of different facets. Again, I did mention that for the most part, these students are all assessed. However, some of our more cognitively impaired students do not take any of these STAIN testing. So therefore, there is a slight discrepancy in the number of one student from language arts to math. The not passing and the passing rate, you'll see you have your district numbers, you have the state numbers in both the mathematics and the language arts. And one thing I do have to point out, the state numbers do add up to 101%, and that's not state mathematics, that's rounding. So anybody who's involved in rounding, all is familiar with the potential to have over 100%. I don't understand how we can have 101% of the staff, of the students testing here, but we end up having that. Our not passing score was comparable to the state. Our passing score, in theory, is comparable to the state, although they say they're 81%. We don't necessarily know. Our mathematics results, the not passing is higher than the state result, and again, the passing is going to be lower. All results are illustrated on this slide as well. As required, and as I always do, I do demographic breakdown of both language arts and math by program, by race, gender, and that way we can kind of target and see where our students are performing. Any numbers that are less than 10 are not reported. Any numbers that are less than 10 can be identifiable. So if we have 9 students that would be in a particular area, they're not going to be represented up on this slide. It'll just be listed as either a dash or less than 10. The rest of our students have been identified here by their, again, race, gender, and program and language arts. This will be posted on the district website as of tomorrow under the curriculum tab. I post it every single year, so this will be available for you for a little bit closer inspection, but I've identified all of the different areas that we can take a look at for language arts. Did the same thing for mathematics. Again, any reporting class less than 10 is not identified, so we can't tell you, for argument's sake, in the race column, the specific number of those in the other category or the Asian category, because those are the results. Now, we would have those results for internal categorization, but we don't report those results because, again, they're identifiable. Again, this will be available to you on the district website as of tomorrow when I post it. Moving forward to the next slide, we talk about the AP mean scores by course. Our We have some fluctuation based on the course. I always do a comparison from last year to, from 2022 to 23, or the prior year. You will note that in the majority of courses, other than studio art, we do have more students who actually took the AP exam. In some cases, our scores did improve higher than the prior year. In some cases, they did actually decrease, and one that I'm going to highlight it, even though it's dear to my heart, being mathematics. Calculus, our numbers did decrease, and we ended up with a new staff member, so with the proper training and things, we're anticipating some changes this year. But again, if we look overall, the number of students that are taking our AP exams were significantly higher than they were the year before. World history has not typically been given. However, I've been given information from registration that we are actually offering AP World History to a class of students. I'm very happy to say that we will have reportable results in that AP exam next year. So, main takeaways. So, I just wanted to highlight a few things. Some of this narrative might be a little bit different than what you have in there. I did make some late changes to it. Last year, so for the class of 2023, there was the exam was given, the GPA was given, however, it was not used as a graduation assessment. It was used only to obtain benchmark scores. So there is really no comparison from the class of 2023 to the class of 2024, our current seniors. There's no way to compare performance or data solely because it was used to obtain cut scores. And the information that we got from that was really minimal. It was more used for the state to determine what was appropriate and where we want to go from there. The feedback from the test indicate that the student performed well, or in language arts especially, was comparable to the state level. It also identifies on a minutia level standards that were assessed that maybe we should target in the future. Some of the reporting that we get actually back from the GPA is actually very specific with standards, and we're able to take that information back to our curriculum teams and really start to plan using some of our benchmark exams for what we want to do in the future. So some of our instruction we wanted to use this year. It's a comprehensive test given to high school juniors, encompasses really 3 years of content. For many years, we ended up giving different tests. If you remember the PARCC many years ago, not that many years ago, but pre-COVID, the PARCC was an individual course exam. Prior to that, prior to the PARCC coming out, we had the high school proficiency assessment, which was a comprehensive exam. So we went from a comprehensive exam to a content course-based exam back to a comprehensive exam. So that's where we're a little bit different in some of the results. You know, we're hoping to be able to get some better results we can compare next year with the current class, with our current juniors, and we'll be able to make a better comparison at that point. Moving forward, this year we're actually embarking on a literacy equity audit of our entire language arts curriculum and materials. For 9-12, we're actually extending it to 6-12. So we're really looking at examining some of our materials to take a look at the equity and to really determine, do they hit the standards that we're looking at. We're using a whole school approach to intervention in mathematics, using the newly adopted mathematics series. We purchased that last year. We're receiving the professional development on that this year. And it's more of a comprehensive, instead of piecewise, program that we're implementing for the current school year. The newly adopted math program, one of the things we absolutely wanted to make sure of is that there was native language applicability. So we did get Spanish resources and the ability to have translated resources into some of our other languages that represent our population. We're in the process of reviewing data at least 3 times a year at the high school following the administration of benchmark exams. We've really moved into a benchmark exam idea. And the benchmark exams are used literally for that, for benchmarking. We're actually not using them necessarily for grading purposes, but really to evaluate progress towards standards and standards mastery. We use that through one of our third-party assessment tools, Lincoln. We also purchased a brand new science program, supports mathematics and literacy, and also as one of the components of that science program, we wanted to ensure that there was resources in native language, again Spanish, as well as translatable to Portuguese. And that's what I have. Any questions?
Thank you, Doctor.
Anything? Sylvia, anything?
No, thank you, Dr. Trevisano, for the presentation. And as Dr. Trevisano stated several times, this will be posted on our district website.
Okay, if the board members don't have any questions or comments, I'd like to know what your pleasure is on the superintendent's report.
Move the superintendent's report is read.
Motion by Mr. Nielsen,
Second.
second by Mr. Bazak. Anything else from the board? If not, all in favor? Aye. Thank you. Okay, at this time, the board is going to be opening the meeting to the reception of visitors. This is for agenda items only. There will be another public portion at the end of the meeting to address any other items that may be of interest to the board. So at this time, for agenda items only, if anyone has anything, please come to the microphone, state your name and address, and please keep your comments to a 10-minute time limit. First call.
Good evening, members of the Board of Ed. I'm Lara Getz, and I've been a teacher here in South River for 30 years. Some of you may know me from numerous committees I volunteered for or from attending board meetings for recognition for receiving Teacher of the Year or the many grants I had the pleasure of writing and receiving over the years. I have given my heart and my soul to the students of South River and have absolutely loved every minute of the time I spent with them. If there was a committee in the district, most likely I was asked to be on it or I volunteered for it. I started teaching here in 1993-94 school year, when I was just a few years out of college. I've had the opportunity to work for so many amazing superintendents like Jack Ambrosi, Ron Grigo, and Mike Pfister, and numerous principals over the year who have helped shape me, both as a human being and as an educator. That are immeasurable. Even working as a non-tenured employee during the strike of 1995 was a scary experience. I would like to thank Jack Ambrosi for being such a great leader and closing the schools during that strike, so I wasn't forced to make any difficult decisions. I also want to take this time to publicly thank former board member Tony Rosano for being the very best mentor and friend to me all through the years that I had the pleasure to work for. So why resign now? What would motivate a teacher who loves her students, who loves South River, is passionate about education, is one of the longest standing employees? I think aside for Eric Clays, I am 6 months after him, the oldest staff member in the district. Teacher. I'm sorry. Some of you may want to believe it's because I'm getting paid more money. If you know anything about me, that is the furthest thing from the truth. I am getting a significant increase in salary, but that is not why I'm leaving. There are so many instances over the past 3 or 4 years that have taken place to precipitate my resignation. I want to share one of the many events that is very personal, something I have not shared publicly because it's extremely a low point in my life. I was diagnosed with stage 3 lung cancer in June 2021. My mother died at the age of 39 of lung cancer. My grandmother had one of her lungs removed. At the time, I was a middle school teacher, as it had been my job for 28 years. I was also the special ed teacher leader. As you can imagine, I was terrified of what the future held for me. I started undergoing intensive chemotherapy with the hopes that it would shrink my tumor and lymph nodes so that surgery would be an option for me. Luckily, that happened. But at my worst moment in my treatment, when I had no idea of my future, my children's future with their mother, being sick most of the day, losing my hair, one memory stands out. I received a call during the summer while undergoing chemo from one of my administrators, telling me that because I was sick, they were not offering me the position that I had held for years as special ed teacher leader because I had cancer. As you know, that is illegal and extremely discriminatory. It left me no choice but to schedule a meeting with Dr. Zurcher, whom I made clear that I would be contacting an attorney regarding this treatment. I did receive my job back with the stipulation that I had to share this position with another teacher because of the uncertainty of my health. I had surgery on September 9th, and because of the pressure, the stress, the anxiety, I returned to work October 10th. Just a few weeks after surgery, against my doctor's wishes, after having a third of my lung removed. The following June, I reapplied for my teacher leader job again. This time, I was told the job description had been changed, and I was required to interview. I've never had to interview for it before, as being the most tenured special ed teacher in the district. A few weeks later, an email was sent to me. Although I met all the criteria, they chose to go with the different teacher leader. At about the same time I received this email, I was being involuntarily moved to the high school. While I did understand the reasons for this move, which involved other personnel, it wasn't what was best for me. I had the same classroom for over 25 years in what I call the new middle school, since I'm one of the staff members that worked in the old middle school. I can't even begin to tell you how much time and heartbreak it took to move my life to the little science office at the high school, leaving most of my precious materials behind. In year 33 of my career, moving forced me to learn new material and curriculum, which I did with a smile on my face. I was promised in writing that my schedule would have me teaching all in-class support, which would provide me the opportunity to learn the curriculum. Luckily, I had Amanda Cobb as one of my gen ed teachers that I worked with, who helped make that transition so easy and was an amazing teacher. I guess that letter was only good for 1 year. I received my schedule this summer with 2 new classes that I've never taught in 34 years. While some of you may say this is a testament of how great of a teacher they feel I am, who wants to start over and be forced to learn new material in year 34? Just because I could doesn't mean I should. I scheduled a meeting with my director in early July to discuss my schedule and how unhappy I was. I was informed that the district felt this was in the best interest of students. There are other reasons, but I refuse to discuss them tonight. I have other staff members that I don't want to address. I have always been rated highly effective. Never received a negative evaluation in 30 years. Why should the end of my career be about anyone but me? I want you to know I am not leaving because of my relationships with Dr. Brashear, Mr. Risk, and Mr. Nowicki. I only have positive things to say about them. They are excellent administrators, and South River is lucky to have them. I'm sure nothing will be done about this, but I would like you to know that it is my opinion that over the last 5 or so years, there has been a negative impact on the district. I have personally seen the climate and the morale go down. When I resigned last week, I never imagined I'd be speaking here tonight. I walked into the board office Thursday. They already knew I was on the agenda in Monroe. So you could say the cat was already out of the bag. Instead of being cordial and saying hi, even thanking me for my 30 years of service, I was ignored and I felt shunned. I asked the board to look deeper when approving line items. Don't just rubber stamp what is presented to you. I bleed South River. If I am leaving, read between the lines. Look deeper when you see changes to job descriptions or staff being involuntarily transferred to different buildings, whether they are teachers or administrators. There is always a motive. We are not chess pieces to be played with. I would like to address my students, many of whom may watch this feed on YouTube. I hope you all know how much I have loved and enjoyed being your teacher. You have made me want to come to work every day for 30 years. You all have special talents, and it was my absolute pleasure to watch you grow. I hope that whatever path you choose, whether they be personal or professional, that you never accept less than your worth. I could accept the way I have been treated the last few years. I can smile and stay silent and continue to feel not valued, not heard, and not respected. But that doesn't mean I should. Starting over is never easy. Let me assure you, it only gets harder as you age. But just because you can stay in a familiar place doesn't mean you should. Go chase your dreams. Please don't think I abandoned you or that I didn't care. I will always be your biggest cheerleader and your biggest advocate. I will still be cheering you on the sidelines, and you know you hold a place in my heart. As a final thought, I just wanted to thank the board for allowing me this opportunity to speak. Thank you to my current and former administrators. Your guidance has helped shape me into the role model I am today. Thank you to the parents who shared their children with me over the years. Thank you to my colleagues who I now call friends and family. And thank you to my students for allowing me to shape your future. And know I'm a phone call or a text away. Once around, always around. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Getz, and thank you for your years of service. Are there any other members of the public that wish to address the board on agenda items at this time? On first call, second call, third call. This portion of the public is now closed. Okay, at this time, we're going to move on to the committee reports, and then we are going to have our consent resolution. First, under President of the Board, we have the final report of the board goal action plans for school year 22-23. As you know, last year we set these goals, and I think everybody was very happy to see when they read the final report that we did achieve them. Thanks to everybody in the district, or BA, or superintendent, and many other resources and support. Are there any questions on the board goal action plans? Okay, how about if we hear from our athletics committee, Mr. Budzen?
There's nothing on the agenda for this month.
Thank you. Buildings and grounds, Mr. Nielsen.
As you can see from Mr. Balage's report, things are moving along, and if you notice the hallway, the wall of fame is gone. There's been an update on that, on how it'll be viewed from the public now. So, if you have a question, don't go to social media. Come to the source, please. The walls are being painted. The halls are smelling kind of like paint and wax, so it looks like we'll be ready for a September opening. Other than that, everything else is going.
Thank you. Finance, Ms. Lau.
We have 9 items this evening. 8.1, rescind Lincoln Landscaping, Inc. via Ed Data Co-op bid number 10404, landscaping services for the high school courtyard. 8.2, approve contract rural construction via the Educational Services Commission of New Jersey Co-op bid number ESCNJ 20/21-02, construction services for the high school courtyard project. 8.3, approve proposal Mobiles Modular Space, Inc., modular pre-K building provider for the 23-24 school year. 8.4, approve contract Educational Travel Tours, Inc., field trip services provider for the 23-24 school year. 8.5, approve contract Management Research Development and Assessment Incorporated, 21st Century Community Learning Center external evaluator services for the 23-24 school year. 8.6, approve contract the College of New Jersey Primary School ESL program for the 23-24 school year. 8.7, approve requisition for debt services taxes 23-24 school year. 8.8, approve tax requisition, and 8.9, approve our line item transfers. And that is all I have under finance.
Any questions or comments from the board on any of the finance items? Ms. Lau, would you please continue with instruction in Ms. Bush's absence?
Yes, I may. I'd like to begin with a brief summary of Dr. Trevisano's report, which Ms. Bush does when she provides her instruction committee report. As he stated during the presentation, he discussed the K through 12 new science purchase for the core science classes, the revision of the high school mathematics courses. There's also a K through 8 literacy focus that's involved. And we have new staff members having their orientation from August 22nd to August 24th. And within that new staff orientation, they're going to bring in SIOP training, which is really research-based and important. It supports our English language learners. And that is also in conjunction with the information that we've seen in previous meetings in his report about how we've had teachers further certified with our ESL model. So that's like a little bit of a synopsis there, and then I will go into 9.1 through 9.7. 9.1, approve professional development and travel expenses for the 23-24 school year. 9.2, approve out-of-district placements for the 23-24 school year. 9.3, approve out-of-district preschool students' tuition for the 23-24 school year. 9.4, approve field trip for the 23-24 school year. 9.5, approve revised and new curriculum guides, and there was a significant amount that the committee had reviewed and have been placed on our atlas, linked through the website. 9.6, approve the 23-24 comprehensive substance abuse program, and 9.7, approve the 23-24 nursing plan and accident emergency protocols. And that is all I have for instruction this evening.
Thank you. Board members, any comments or questions on any of the instruction items? Okay, next item on the agenda is under negotiations. We do not have anything as of yet. Mr. Horton, do you have anything
No,
to
we
report?
have nothing active at this point, but we will be entering collective bargaining with our administrative unit for a contract that expires on June 30th of 2024 in the coming months.
Okay, thank you. Policy and legislation. Ms. Byrne.
We have one item, 11.1, approve second reading, adopt revised policy number 5131.5, vandalism and violence.
Any questions on that item from the board members? Seeing none. Human Resources, Mr. Basak.
Thank you, Ms. Urbanek. 32 items on the agenda. Item 12.1, approve staff salaries grant funded 2023-2024 school year. Item 12.2, approve disability, sick, maternity, family leave, Kelly Ferreira, school social worker, 2023-2024 school year. Item 12.3, approve disability, sick, maternity, family leave, Lauren Hahn, elementary school teacher, 2023-2024 school year. Item 12.4, discuss approve disability, sick, maternity, family leave, Darina Gonzalez, 2023-2024 school year. Item 12.5, approve appoint Hannah Rios, primary school preschool teacher, 2023-2024 school year. Item 12.6, approve appoint Sarah Conzenza, elementary school teacher, 2023-2024 school year. Item 12.7, approve appoint David Apito, preschool paraprofessional, 2023-2024 school year. Item 12.8, approve appoint Lori Markowski, middle school nurse, 2023-2024 school year. Item 12.9, approve intermittent family leave, Elaine Pitta, 2023-2024 school year. Item 12.10, approve intermittent family leave, Valerie Alcott, 2023-2024 school year. Item 12.11, approve revised Duval Farwell High School ESL leave replacement teacher, 2023-2024 school year. Item 12.12, approve resignation Allison McGreevy, media specialist. Item 12.13, approve resignation Lara Getz, high school special education science teacher. Item 12.14, approve resignation Joseph Pitarisi, primary elementary school physical education teacher. Item 12.15, approve resignation Alice Cangiano, preschool aide. Item 12.16, approve revised Isabel Feliciano, high school secretary, 2023-2024 school year. Item 12.17, approve lunch aides, substitute lunch aides, 2023-2024 school year. Item 12.18, approve anti-bullying staff, 2023-2024 school year. Item 12.19, approve revised Lauren Levon, preschool teacher, 2023-2024 school year. Item 12.20, approve hall duty aide, middle school, 2023-2024 school year. Item 12.21, approve staff transfers, 2023-2024 school year. Item 12.22, approve additional coach, 2023-2024 school year. Item 12.23, approve withholding of 2023-2024 salary increment, employee number 4498. Item 12.24, approve new job description, number B-14, 21st Century Community Learning Center Project Director. Item 12.25, approve new job description, number B-15, 21st Century Community Learning Center Site Coordinator. Item 12.26, approve new job description, number B-16, 21st Century Community Learning Center Academic Instructor. Item 12.27, approve new job description, number D-23, 21st Century Community Learning Center Data Entry Clerk. Item 12.28, approve staff assignments 2023-2024 school year. Item 12.29, addition, revise, approve, appoint Lara Fernandez, High School Secretary 2023-2024 school year. Item 12.30, addition, approve, appoint Christine Stanisfer, Middle School, High School Media Specialist 2023-2024 school year. Item 12.31, addition, approve, High School Lunch Club Staff 2023-2024 school year. And item 12.32, addition, approve, Alternative Program Staff 2023-2024 school year. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Basak. Any board members have any questions or comments on the 32 items? Okay, you got a break this month, a little bit. Our next committee report is Safety and Risk Management. Mrs. Sadowski.
Thank you. There are 2 items on the agenda for this evening. Item 13.1, approve Fall Transportation Routes Educational Services Commission of New Jersey for the 23-24 school year. And item 13.2, approve Saraville Board of Education joinder to St. Thomas High School route number SJSTA for the 23-24 school year. Thank you.
Thank you. Any comments or questions on the 2 safety and risk management items? Okay, at this time, we are going to go back to the consent resolution. Is there a motion?
Nielsen.
Second.
And we're going to have a motion by Mr. Nielsen.
Second.
Second by Mr. Basak. And what items are going to be under the consent resolution, Mr. Rosa?
Okay, we have items 3.2, 5.1 for President of the Board. For Finance, we have 8.1 through 8.9. For Instruction, we have 9.1 through 9.7. For Policy and Legislation, we have 11.1. For Human Resources, we have 12.1 through 12.32. And for Safety and Risk Management, we have 13.1 through 13.2.
Okay, thank you. Do any board members have any questions, abstentions, or would like any of these read separate?
I'd like to abstain from item 12.23.
Ms. Young, did you get that?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Would you please call the roll?
Mr. Basak.
Yes.
Mr. Butson.
Yes.
Mrs. Byrne. Mrs. Lau.
Yes.
Mr. Nielsen.
Yes.
Mrs. Sadowski.
Yes.
Ms. Young Yao.
Yes.
Mrs. Urbanik.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, thank you very much. Our next committee report is School Community Relations. Mrs. Young Yao, do you have anything for us?
There are no items on the agenda this evening.
Okay, and our School Board Borough Council Liaison Committee, Mr. Nielsen.
Nothing really to report, but I did speak with him at the fireworks display. They said everything went off well. They appreciate us utilizing the field and the parking lot. It seemed to go off well, and everybody seemed to enjoy themselves. That's all I have for tonight, Madam President.
Thank you. Yeah, they certainly did. I think we might have a new tradition of having it in the high school parking lot. It seemed
Yeah.
everyone enjoyed themselves. It did. It did. So thanks to all who helped with that. And our PTA liaison, Mrs. Sadowski.
Thank you. All the PTAs are getting ready for the new school year. This past week, they had the primary school, they had kindergarten and pre-K orientation where the PTAs both attended both events, so you can ask questions, you can sign up. And I believe on the 31st of August, they are having a pop into the primary school, so you can meet with the PTA, the new principal. Dr. Lieberman's going to be there, so you can also meet her as well. And as you can see on the agenda, there are a couple of use of facilities already for the beginning of the school year. I believe there's a fall festival being planned, and I think that's it. I think, oh, the elementary school, they're still looking for volunteers to help out with their board. I don't think that those positions have been filled yet, so if anybody's interested, you can find them on Facebook. Thank you.
Thank you, and pocketbook bingo. Thank you. Our South River Public Library liaison, Mr. Budzen.
Well, the summer reading program is coming to an end. Story time will continue in the fall. This week they're having a phone party for the kids, and check the website for the information. That's all I have.
Thank you. And our South River Foundation for Educational Excellence, Ms. Lowe.
Nothing to report.
Thank you. We do have a new student board representative. They will be joining us at next month's meeting.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any old or new business to come before the board at this time? Seeing none, does our attorney have any report for us?
Nothing to report publicly, but we will have a brief executive session.
Thank you. Item 23, payment of bills. Ms. Lowe.
The Finance Committee recommends that all bills presented, having been certified by the School Business Administrator Board Secretary, be paid as listed, and I so move.
We have a motion by Ms. Lowe.
Second.
Second by Mr. Nielsen. Any questions on the bill list? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, at this time, this is the second public portion of the meeting, and the public may address any concern or comment that they have for the board. Please state your name and address when you come to the microphone, and please keep your comments to a 10-minute time limit on first call.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Danielle Oswald. I live at 16 Garwood Street. I am the parent of two South River High School students, and I'm a past volunteer of the South River Special Education PTA, the current president and founding member of the South River Foundation for Educational Excellence. Still a mouthful. I've been involved as a parent volunteer for well over a decade, and I had the pleasure of meeting Mrs. Getz in my time as the president of the Special Education PTA. I just wanted to share that she's always been extremely helpful in the efforts that SEPTA put forward to try to provide parents with the understanding and the support they need in being the best advocate that they can for their students, as well as all of the students of our district. Ms. Getz was also very supportive of the efforts of the South River Foundation for Educational Excellence since our inception in 2015. She, along with many other teachers, have taken advantage of our mini grants to help her, at the time, middle school students with interactive chairs, yoga-type balls for them to sit on to help them stay engaged with their work, as well as rubber bands that were placed on the legs of their chairs to allow them to get their sensory issues met while learning at the same time. And she had always helped us with our awareness efforts, and I thank you for that. As a parent, I've had the luck that my students, both of my kids, had Ms. Getz as their in-class support teacher in science, and then again in the high school for one of my kids. And it's that child that she has had the most impact on. And she's his anchor, and she helps to ground him when he gets overwhelmed. And as a parent, it was very comforting. My husband and I worked very closely with Ms. Getz to ensure that my child have the best education that he can. So I'm really going to struggle a little bit when I have to explain that she's not going to be his teacher this coming school year. But I'm confident that with all of the support that she has given him in the past, that should be okay with a little bit of maybe road bumps. Life is always going to change. Things are always going to happen, and you don't know what life will throw at you. With the resignation of Ms. Getz, it's my personal opinion that we lost not only a great teacher, but a tireless advocate for all of our students. Our logo on the South River Foundation for Educational Excellence website, as well as the tablecloths right here, have our core values of honesty, respect, responsibility, service, and kindness. And I really hope we keep those in mind as we move forward in our ever-changing world. For without our dedicated teachers, who will guide our students? I'm beyond grateful for Mrs. Getz for helping all of our students, especially mine. And on a personal note, I know that I have about 5 teachers that impacted me throughout my education. And it's funny, with the world of social media, I now connect with Mr. C, my high school teacher who taught me history, who gave me a very bad grade, and then I addressed that with him years later when I met him for a dinner. And it's amazing how teachers can impact you, and I personally believe that my kids will feel that way about Ms. Getz. So, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mrs. Oswald. Anyone else wishing from the public to speak on matters of the board's concern? On first call, second call, third call. This public portion is now closed. The board is going to go into executive session at this time. So that resolved that pursuant to Section 7 and 8 of the Open Public Meeting Act, the following subjects be discussed at a session of the Board of Education closed to the public, and those are attorney-client privilege. It is presently anticipated that the items to be discussed in closed session can be disclosed to the public when resolved. Is there a motion?
Nielsen.
Motion by Mr. Nielsen.
Second.
Is there a second by Mrs. Sadowski? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.